Good morning, everyone. My name is Teresa Conroy-Roth, and today I'm starting a brand new podcast called Lightning Leadership. And my very first guest is my good friend and hero, Jeff Tunn. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Teresa. I am so excited that you are launching this new podcast, and I'm honored to be your first guest.
Thank you so much. I was thinking about when we first met, and it was almost 19 years ago. I'm not going to date myself, but I
That just means that you were 3 and I was much older than that.
Exactly. We had just moved down from Chicago to Indianapolis, and I attended a HDI Help Desk Institute meeting, and you were presenting Lewis and Clark lessons in leadership. And number one, I was in awe because I love history. Number two, it was a great presentation, and number three, it was all about leadership.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. I've done that many times in the last 19 years.
Well, tell us kind of how you got started, what inspired you, and tell us a little bit about the curriculum that you're offering.
Absolutely. So it started with the bicentennial commemoration of the Lewis and Clark expedition back in 2003 to 2006. My wife Carmen and I decided we were going to try to attend all of the events along the trail that we could and be where they were 200 years after they were there.
Yeah.
And we succeeded fairly well. We did the whole trail, maybe not always hitting that 200-year mark. But I would come back to work, and my boss at the time, Ron West at Roth Property Group, I think he got tired of hearing all my stories about Lewis and Clark because I talked about them all the time. And he said, well, Jeff, you know what you ought to do? You ought to write about the leadership lessons that are in Lewis and Clark, in the story of Lewis and Clark. And I laughed at him. I said, oh, come on. It was 200 years ago. How could we possibly learn anything by studying that expedition 200 years later in business?
Yeah.
But I took him up on it, and I found, oh my goodness, so many leadership lessons. It's just been an incredible journey to study what made them successful, both good and bad, using the history to learn how to lead in the present, but also into the future.
Yeah.
Because I was writing about it, this company, FCCS Consulting out of Denver, found some of what I was writing, and Gene Canty Siegel reached out to me to ask if I would help build a curriculum for a leadership development program.
Yeah.
Fast forward, we now do the Lewis and Clark Experience, A New Way Forward, and it's a 3-day, pretty intense leadership development program. Experiential, so that there's some classroom, but you're also out of your comfort zone. You're outdoors. You're doing things that you probably wouldn't dream of doing sometimes.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is to chart a new way forward in your leadership. You go to leadership development to learn something new. So why not chart a course, to use a map metaphor, for how you want your leadership to be in the future. And that's what we do for 3 days. And we use the story of Lewis and Clark to kind of anchor the learning points.
So if you had to say what were the 2 or 3 points that you took away or that are most important from Lewis and Clark, what would you say that they were?
Wow, that is such a great question. There are so many. I think to me the top couple is that they created this incredible team. We call it the Lewis and Clark Expedition, but it was 31 other people that went on this expedition and went to the Pacific Ocean and returned. That was an incredible feat in its day. And just to be able to bring this disparate team, this is a group of 33 people who did not know each other than Lewis and Clark. Those were the only two that really knew each other when they started. So that's one. Two, I think the other lesson in there is that they aren't successful. They don't survive without the help of the Native Americans. They encountered dozens of tribes along the way. but most helped them succeed, and gave them information, gave them goods, nursed them back to health when they crossed the Rocky Mountains in the winter. It's today in business, it's that ecosystem, right? Companies can't succeed on their own today. They need an ecosystem of partners to help them. So I would say those are the top two.
That's awesome. Jeff, thank you again for the lightning leadership. How can people reach out if they want more information or to find you?
The best way is LinkedIn. I love that platform. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Jeffrey S. Tunn, or J Tunn Indy. So JTONINDY. Those are the best ways.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
It's been great, Teresa. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. You're the first. It's all good.